before I go on, I do want to explain one thing. The processes that we are talking about in this week's module are for you personally. This process, while it has many similarities with the Scrum process, they all come from the same Agile family tree. You don't need to even worry about that. But what I want to emphasize for this week is it applies to everybody. Even though I have teams that have Scrum boards, I've got a launch going on at the moment, I've got 2 software development projects going on at the moment. This board here, right, this board here is for me personally, okay? Now I use tools, and don't worry, we'll get to all the tools and all the stuff later, to keep track of what's going on with various team projects. But everything that's on here is me personally. You need a personal board. And so for those of you without teams, this is doubly important because this is going to be super crucial for you. But keep in mind that everything that I'm talking about this particular module is for you. And that's why we're doing this first instead of teams, because we need to get you right first. Because once you see the benefits of this, you can't wait to introduce it into a team. And of course, this is going to get you ready for that great time where you are starting to get people to do stuff for you, are building a team, and you'll already have the habits in place to make that so much more effective. So I just wanted to mention that as well. All right, let's get into it. You'll remember last module, I asked you to do a 50-minute dump exercise, and I can already see on the Facebook group how much clarity that gave people, which was fantastic. That's why I called the exercise Getting Clear. Now, remember I said it'd be useful? Here's where it all comes home to roost. Because our first part of populating our own personal board is here on the options category. And you'll notice that the options category is the biggest part of the board. Now, it's called options because, and for those of you who've been following along for a while or participated in the beta training, this was called backlog. Now, it's interesting, I had the chance to speak to Tori and Jim, and they changed the name to options, and I think it's a brilliant reason, because with backlog, the word backlog came from where this all came from, which was software development. And the software development, obviously you had a project, and you have a backlog of tasks to get through to deliver the project. Whereas here, with your business, with your life, you've got lots of options, right? So you want to capture those options somewhere, and you want to make that, you want to be able to capture them so that they're somewhere, so that you can see them, and that they're out of your head and captured somewhere where your head knows, you know what, I trust this system. I can now use that energy and that willpower that I used to have holding that in my subconscious, and I can use that for doing cool work right now. So this options column, which is this part of the board, is literally where I stick up things that I might want to do. And the very first part of this process is populating our options column. So the easiest way to do this is to timer, get your post-it notes, and I recommend my personal preference is the fine point Sharpie. Now, why do I recommend the fine point Sharpie and genuine 3M post-it notes? It's because I'm being paid massive amounts of sponsorship dollars. No, I wish I was. I really do. If you know somebody, call me. I use a bucket load of these things now. Here's the reason why I recommend proper 3M post-it notes and the fine point Sharpie to do this exercise. It's because, and if you can see here, it sticks out. The writing sticks out, and when you want to take photos and some other cool tool stuff, which you're going to absolutely love, you're going to go ape for, if you use black lead or a pen or something, it's too thin to be picked up, and I'll have to say stuff like, "Oh, sorry, I really wanted to look at your board, but I couldn't because I couldn't see it." So now the reason we use post-it notes, the originals, is because bluntly they stick better. Okay, now huge tick, worth the price of admission to achieve a formula. This tip is immense. This is what you pay the big dollars for. Most people, most plebs, the uneducated, when they're using post-it notes, rip the post-it note off like that. Bad news. that stops, see how it's curled? That stops it sticking on the board and it eventually falls off. However, if you are an educated artisan of the Post-it note and you tear the Post-it note that way, so you take it off from the side, look at that, see? Thin versus, look what's happened. See, look at that. Terrible. That is a huge tip for you. So think very carefully. Oh, and by the way, make sure you understand what's up on the Post-it note as well. That will help a lot as well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your Post-it notes and your Sharpie, and we're just going to write one thing, one item per Post-it note. Doesn't matter how big or small. I'd prefer them in some ways to be bigger summaries than smaller breakdowns. But whatever it is, it is. But I want you to set a timer, and this is crucial, for 10 minutes. Okay? Now, if you've done the 50-minute focus finder, you've already pumped your brain beautifully. See? Ha ha ha. See? Lots of wheels within wheels, webs within webs. But you'll find this really simple. And the things that are really crucial to you right now are going to pop to your head. So I want you to do one per Post-it note, and I want you to pop it up into your options column. Go to it, set your timer, and then come back once you've populated your options board. All right, how was that? You have done it, haven't you? Please, the best way to consume this course is to do things in steps, chunk it down. Because I know for a lot of you, your time is incredibly valuable. And if you're just watching the video, that doesn't give you any forward momentum at all. If you stop and then you do the exercises as we're talking about them, you'll get so much more out of it. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you'll be able to upload it to the Facebook group and we'll be set. So let's talk about some pieces of information about the options column. Once you've got it populated, one of the things that you can do, and this is real, how you arrange your options column, I really don't care. It's not one of the 2 rules. I've only got 2 things that I insist on. Everything else is up for grabs. But with the options column, what I do find it helpful for clients to do is to maybe look at all of these things that you've put down, and maybe at the top, put the things that are the highest value items to you. So the things, now value in a definition of a business is value to your customer, your client, your tribe. But surfacing those things that are going to create the most value for your tribe is a great way of sorting the options. You can leave it as is. You don't have to sort it at all. I vaguely sort mine. I know some people, particularly you high follow-through types, love to actually put them into, like you have all your individual projects in columns. Cool. Whatever floats your boat. I don't mind as long as you do it. As long as it's up there, as long as it's visual, you've fulfilled my criteria for populating that options. Now, people say, do I just do this for my business? Do I do this for other projects? How do I do it? Here's the deal. I think you've got to do everything that you're responsible for. I've got here, do jazz DVD. That's for my daughter's ballet school, for example. I've got to redo a DVD. So that's not a business thing, but it's something that I've got to do. So it's important. I've got health stuff. This week I'm tracking with my fitness. That was back here, but I'm actually doing it. And I'll explain all about that later. But point being is that that's a health thing, right? But that was important. So it was important for me to track that information. So I wanted to make sure that that was there as well. One piece of advice is that, particularly for you high follow-through, high fact finder types, you may be tempted at this point to start getting really excited about this options column and start breaking things down. Like I've got one Post-it note there, for example, for challenge 10. Now, the reality is I've got a much bigger whiteboard out in the other room, and that will be filled with Post-it notes about the challenge. It literally, when it breaks down, it will probably be hundreds of tickets. But that's cool, right? But while it's in the options column, I don't want to think about it. You don't break things down until you need to, which we're going to talk about in the very next video. So feel free to just keep them large, because the time to break them down is when we're moving things from the options column to our ready column. And that's what we're going to talk about in our next video.